you this in the meantime. Political parties around the country have been very busy forming coalitions, and the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection has been looking into them. Now, it's titled, this particular report, When Wedding Bells Ring, Coalitions with or Without Concord. And the question now is, when will the honeymoon phase end? And when will we see, rather, some spectacular divorces? I hate using the word, but, you know, it is in this context. Editor of the report, Professor Susan Booysen, joins us now to tell us what the report has found. And, Prof, good morning to you. Always a pleasure having this conversation with you. I have to ask you that juicy question I know you heard from Gareth, right, around who got the prenup, who got the antenuptial contract, who got the married in community of property, who got the benefits and who didn't. How did this year's coalitions in the SA context actually work?
Jamila, good morning. Yes, the relations that we see emerging from the current round of coalitions and in many variations are so tenuous, so precarious that I am not surprised that we hardly see a formal agreement arising out of the constitution of the councils, both metro and local municipalities around the country and a few districts as well. But it's been so tenuous and precarious that it is very, very unlikely that these will be a basis for stable governance in the next 5 years. And that will be the big challenge. And that is a core message of this report, that we really hope that political parties can separate the party political gains, which they are taking and they're entitled to take, given the decline in one-party dominance that we have had, and the dominance we've had for close to 3 decades. And now we see the decline of the ANC to below 50%, with that opening so many opportunities for political parties. And they have to, that's in the nature of party politics, they have to grab those opportunities, while simultaneously we know the condition in local government and community level service delivery is so desperate, so dismal, that we can only hope they find ways to work above the differences and perhaps retain these fronts that they're constructing against the ANC, but really make it public, accountable, profound governance in the 5 years to come, because communities really depend on that.
But also, Prof, I understand that you are of the view that the growing coalitions were to be anticipated in the South African context, like you mentioned, given the dominance of the ANC in these past decades.
Yes, indeed. It is indeed. We really did expect a growth in the number of coalitions. We didn't quite, going into local elections 2021, expect quite the extent of growth in number of coalition governments. The metros, we had 55, and local municipalities 65 around the country, first time across the provinces. We didn't quite expect that scale of it, but we had that, and we have seen how political parties have dramatically been adjusting to this, to make do with this new political reality, a new kind of political uncertainty, where political parties also have an eye, especially opposition parties, and of course the ANC as well, but have an eye on what might transpire in 2024. And so they hope to govern in ways that will enhance their reputations as being parties that are able to govern, to use a very common phrase we find in party politics. And simultaneously, I think political parties are also very aware of the adverse message that came out of the 2016 to 21 term of coalitions, that some parties are really spoilers and do disruptive governance, and they cannot be trusted as coalition partners. So that is one of the big factors that we also highlight.
Prof, I'm going to let you go in a few seconds. Before I do, though, briefly, if you may, I'm just keen to know from you about this report and what it actually says about, you know, the separation of political parties in the country, you know, seeking their gains and those fulfilling their mandates for constructive governance. What do you think this report tells us when it comes to this?
I think it really helps us map this new terrain, this new political and governance terrain that is so unfolding so rapidly around South Africa. It takes stock of the different kind of manifestations, variations on a theme of coalitions and what we call in a trade confidence and supply agreements. It maps these and shows the detail, the different configurations, and it relates it to what kind of government one can possibly expect. Taking these coalitions in these early days, this report really takes stock of this very important first month, one can call it a foundational phase of this next wave of coalition governance. So it maps that, it tells us the different configurations, and it's a big resource document that tells us how election mandates are being converted into governance mandates. And because political parties really remain at the heart of our politics in South Africa, it's very important to understand those details. And I think this document is excellent at providing a base.
All right. Well, I appreciate you speaking to us about it, Professor Susan Booysen, Director of Research at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection.